we're going to have one more reader, and then we're going to have a bit of a break for a cigarette and another drink if you want. So, what can I say about Etain O'Kane? She's wearing a very, very, very lovely dress, and she's an absolutely wonderful writer. I've known Etain for many, many, many years as a queer activist. We did very bold things together in the past. Not that way. yeah, I think far too early. I heard Etain read at a little event that Lassie put on last year, I think it was. And you know, when you know somebody and you always think, oh, she's going to read and support whatever. I was blown away. I thought Etain's words were incredibly beautiful. I saw a whole new side of her, and we invited her to read tonight. I don't know what she's going to read. I think it's from something. I'd let you introduce yourself, Etain, but ladies and gentlemen, Etain O'Kane. Sorry, I should have done that.
I need the safety of the podium because my legs collapse. Thank you, Ruth. The reading that I did a year and a half ago was with a very small group of friends, trusted friends. This is my first real kind of public foray into the real world as a writer. I've never actually been able to call myself that before, so be kind. I've just finished doing my master's at Queen's in creative writing, and what I'm going to read to you tonight is an excerpt from the dissertation work that I did, which is going to become my novel, my first novel. Because I haven't finished the novel, I haven't gotten to the synopsis yet, so I'm sitting here going, how am I going to describe this? What am I saying? I guess think Alice through the looking glass with leather, basically. The original idea, the two things, anybody who knows me, there's two things I like to write about. I like to write about dysfunctional, fucked up people, and I like to write about sex. So how did I put those two together, really, was what I was trying to figure out. And through the looking glass was the perfect way to do that for me, because I wanted to write about dysfunctional, fucked up people, and I wanted to write about sex. And what is the opposite of an abusive, horrible relationship, but the wonderful world of alternative sexuality. So my main character is Alice, strangely enough. And on the face of it, she has a perfect life. She is the housewife of a professor at Oxford. She lives in a beautiful home and everything is going swimmingly. But behind closed doors, things aren't so great. Her husband is quite controlling and actually pretty fucking horrible. But her way of dealing with that is by completely disconnecting with her body, herself, and reality, basically. Until one day she happens upon this woman in the middle of Tesco's on a Monday night who is elegant, beautiful, sexy, strong, and a little bit dirty. And Alice is completely shocked by this woman standing in front of her and is compelled to chase after her in the car park and ends up running in front of her car and getting knocked down, starting the beginning of a beautiful relationship. So it turns out that this woman that she gets hit by is a professional dominatrix. And they forge a beautiful relationship. Well, they're starting to forge a beautiful relationship. So I'm going to read I'm going to read a bit, a scene sort of after their relationship has been forged a little bit. The woman's name is Scarlett, and they have become friends of a sort, and Scarlett has sort of taken her under her wing because she sees this woman who's trapped in this pretty shitty relationship and reality, or unreality, and introduces her to some pretty wild people in London, and convinces her to go to a fetish club to see a show that Scarlett is performing. And Alice, of course, protests and says, I couldn't possibly do that. And she hands her a box with this very sexy outfit. And Alice, upon sneaking up to a room and trying it on, kind of goes, yeah, I'm going to do this. So at this point, she has entered the club. Okay. That's not it. Oops. Excuse me. See, I'm not a professional. There it is. Okay. Alice tossed her lipstick back in her bag, slipped her coat off, set it on the counter, and stepped back so she could see herself in the mirror. She straightened her skirt and pulled her stockings up until they were even. When the toilet flushed and the young woman stepped out from the cubicle door, Alice dropped her hands to her sides and felt her cheeks burn. The girl looked her up and down, and she moved to the sink. "You look great," she said, and smiled warmly at Alice. "Thank you," Alice said, biting the inside of her cheek. Her mouth had suddenly gone dry. "Is it your first time?" Alice laughed lightly. "Isn't that obvious?" The young woman squeezed soap from a dispenser on the wall above the sink and ran her hands under the tap, working the suds through her fingers. Her hips were so narrow that Alice imagined being able to close a circle around them with her hands. "You could get at least another inch out of that corset," the girl called over her shoulder as she shut off the tap and grabbed a towel to dry her hands. She walked behind Alice and tossed her towel into the bin beside her. "I'll help you." Alice watched the girl through the mirror. She marveled at the girl's brown eyes, glinting against her hot pink eyeshadow, and the perfectly symmetrical lines of thick black liner that extended out from her long lashes. She felt the leather slacken as the girl untied the bow, then a series of sharp tugs that nearly pulled her off her feet. She clenched her stomach muscles and pushed her toes into the floor as the girl's fingers moved quickly